When the NFL draft begins tonight, all 32 first-round picks might feel as though they are set for life, but not so fast. It doesn't always turn out that way.
Just this month, we learned former NFL superstar Warren Sapp has filed for bankruptcy. As Rebecca Jarvis reports, he's not the only big name who's gone broke.
Okay, with the fourth pick in the 2011 NFL Draft.
Each spring, hundreds of young men from across the country spend anxious hours waiting to hear their names called at the NFL Draft. For some, it's the beginning of a career that brings the fame and fortune they've always dreamed of.
I'm just extremely grateful to have
But for many, it's the beginning of a financial nightmare.
This is an alpha male sport, and you think you're going to be on top of your game for forever.
Muhsin Muhammad knows about longevity. The Michigan State University grad spent 14 seasons as a wide receiver in the NFL, earning millions of dollars in salary and endorsements. In 2010, he left the locker room for the boardroom, and today helps run an investment firm.
Could you send this?
Still, his business savvy couldn't protect him from a financial fumble. 3 years ago, he was sued by Wachovia for nearly $25,000 in unpaid credit card bills.
There was some debt run up by a family member, and I was a guarantee on it. So it wasn't my responsibility, but at the end I took responsibility for it, and it was settled.
They're perceived as having a great deal of money all of a sudden, and so people think that they can take advantage of that. Family members, financial advisors, and others put a target on their backs for potential scams.
The NFL is keenly aware of the threats to their athletes' bank accounts. In 2009, Sports Illustrated reported that nearly 8 in 10 former players find themselves bankrupt or in financial trouble. That's partly because the average career lasts just 6 or 7 years. And while the league takes in roughly $9 billion annually, the minimum salary is $390,000.
The NFL approached FINRA about 2 years ago to find out about tools and resources that we had to help NFL players better protect themselves when it came to their investments.
Jerry Walsh runs that program. She starts her outreach months before the league starts calling names. Here at the pre-draft East-West Shrine Game and Senior Bowl, Walsh says she meets players who are already in financial trouble.
What they do is they try to better position themselves in the draft by taking out loans to engage in programs that might further their chances of getting a higher number in the draft.
Based on those numbers, you would often see players going out getting loans, lines of credit, and building up debt prior to getting that first check.
And once they're in the league, it doesn't necessarily get better. When superstar Warren Sapp filed for bankruptcy earlier this month, he reported owing $6.7 million, including back payments in child support and alimony.
I think it's an epidemic that, players that 3 to 4 years out of the game are either divorced or bankrupt. I think a lot of it has to do with lifestyle.
In Sapp's case, the lifestyle included more than $6,000 worth of shoes and a $1,200 lion skin rug. But it's not just big spending that's a problem. Muhammad says an even bigger lifestyle flaw may be not preparing for life after the league.
What about football applies to any other profession? I don't think there are very many resumes that you can put, hey, I was an NFL football player for 10 years, and then someone's going to say, hey, okay.
Hey, okay, Rebecca Jarvis. It's still hard to believe that somebody who has made millions or thousands of dollars, and in your piece you said the minimum salary is $390,000, which is a very, very, very good salary. Yeah. It's still hard to believe that people would go broke. How does that happen?
Well, and it's sort of like the lottery syndrome in some respects. You have somebody who, relatively speaking, has just come into the biggest amount of money in their lives.
And they're too young, you think?
Well, not just too young, but inexperienced, because you have FINRA now actually helping and trying to help these individuals learn about it. But in many cases, the people who are going into the NFL, they don't have that education leading into it. They come in, like I mentioned, with debt in order to get there in the first place. And then they have all of these scam artists that come out of the woodwork looking at them, selling them investments, and they have relatively little information until now with FINRA to differentiate between what's actually good and what's a scam.
And of course, they have that information, but it depends too on whether or not they take it to heart, that education.
Exactly.
And I bet they get a lot of new friends.
I was just going to say,
I need a couple of bucks.
like
and
the
cousins
lottery
they never knew they
syndrome.
had.
It's like
Yes.
the lottery syndrome.
Yes. Yes,
Thanks,
yes.
Becky. It's a great piece.